Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you again to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and of course, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm joined today by some very special friends and beautiful co hosts, Sheila Applegate and Candice Harper. Good morning to both of you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hey, we got this great show that I'm excited about. But before we get to that, how has the beginning of your weeks gone so far? So, Candy, how's it been?
I can't complain. The weather's finally getting nice. I'm very ruled by the weather, I realize.
Yeah,
But
me
just
too.
the where I hike with my dog, everything is so lush and green and it's a peaceful life. After 25 years of living in New York City, this suburban life is very nice. All I need is a sweatshirt that says it's wine o'clock. Um,
Oh, that sounds good. I like that.
right?
What about you, Sheila? I know you got some stuff going on.
Yeah, I got a lot going on this week. It's really busy, but it's all stuff that I am excited about, and I'm just taking it 1 minute at a time.
Me too. Me too. A lot of gardening, a lot of getting the old body back in shape after eating all that food in Jamaica and stuff. Man, yeah, that's woo. Um, but again, like I was saying before, we have a fantastic show today, and I want to start today's show and introduce today's topic with a story from CNN.
Hmm.
Um, Ashley McIntyre had no idea who Danny Robinson was when she heard he was searching for a kidney. He was the same age as her and had already been through so much. Diagnosed at age 16 with IgA nephropathy, an inflammatory kidney disease. Sorry that I like butchered that, but anyway. Danny had been in kidney failure since 2012, the same year he lost his father to brain cancer. One day, Ashley overheard her mother telling her grandmother about Danny. The young man and his mother had just been on a Louisville radio talk show sharing their story. None of his family members had been eligible to donate their kidneys, and the anonymous donors who volunteered weren't compatible. The next day was her 25th birthday. She got a hold of Danny's mom through the radio host and said she couldn't think of anything she'd rather do for her birthday than to give someone the gift of life. Ashley and Danny were deemed a perfect match for the transplant.
Hmm.
But that wasn't the only match they made that day. Memorial Day weekend, with the transplant behind them, the couple sensed that they had a deeper connection but proceeded cautiously. A few months later, they started a formal relationship, and months after that, Danny proposed on Christmas Day. And they
Hmm.
both are healthy, living a life in a beautifully and totally unexpected love relationship. Isn't that cute?
Like a Hallmark story.
Right. And
Yeah.
so today we are talking about, do you believe in soulmates?
Yeah.
And I want to remind everybody that, listen, we this is an interactive discussion. We want you to be engaged with what we're talking about. So if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, or you like what we're doing, just respond back on any of our platforms, or you can post to our chat on Facebook and YouTube, and we will get you into the conversation. So, ladies, do
Hmm.
you believe in soulmates? Sheila, I'll go to you first.
I do believe in soulmates. I've had a lot of experience with various forms of soulmates. So I believe in them, but maybe not as simply as the storyline is often used. I think that it's layered, and I'm looking forward to diving into those layers after I find out what you guys think.
What about you, Candy? Do you believe in soulmates?
Well, so I believe in synchronicity and miracles, and I also believe that whatever we believe is true for us. So I would
Well,
never say whether, overall soulmates exist or not for
right,
others. It's like if you believe that there's a soulmate out there for you, then I believe you're right. Because what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about life, we make true for us. And
right.
so for me, I believe that there are soulmates in the sense that there are mates for different areas of your life, your values, and your soul. But
Hmm.
like Sheila said, whatever classic definition there is that you read in the romance novels,
Right.
I don't know that that's not something that I necessarily subscribe to. But I don't want to take it away from others if they do. Like those who do subscribe to it, I don't want to take that from anyone because some people feel like they met their soulmate.
Yeah, I was thinking about what does it mean, right? What does it mean to be a soulmate, right? And what do we think about that? And then that dictates for me whether or not I believe it or not. Because I think I believe in a blend of what both of you are saying, which I think is kind of cool. Um, where I think as we work on ourselves, that part kind of comes into play. And I know we'll get into that in a minute, but ultimately, I am a romantic at heart. So I
Mhm.
believe that the soulmate is always there, and that there can be more than one throughout your
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
I also believe that there is soulmates in other relationships that are outside of the romantic one. I mean, like
Right.
perfect right relationships for um reasons, seasons, or lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think it's a great topic. I'm again, like you, Sheila, I'm looking forward to like diving down into this a little bit more, especially given that story, right? I mean, I think um here's two people. One is, had gone through both tragedy and loss within a short amount of time, and is looking down the barrel of his own mortality, right?
Mhm.
And the other person seems as though she was ready and open to have a relationship, but was also a giving soul, right? Because how do you hear someone on a radio and decide, I'm going to see if I can help this person?
Mhm.
Were there any things that you both kind of gleaned from that story about Ashley and Danny that kind of stuck out to you?
You know what? I actually felt chills when you read it, and that
Wow.
doesn't happen to me that often, but it usually
Wow.
happens when, like, right when you started the article, I felt that. So, like we talk about synchronicity of her feeling that pull to go and
Mhm.
help this person at a very deep, heartfelt level.
Yeah.
I do think that there's probably a resonance. Kind of talking about what you all said too. I agree with every aspect of what both of you said because I think they can all happen at once. We can have a frequency resonance with people, and that comes from how open we are to love.
Yeah.
But then there are definitely times, and I can share some of those where like things just you meet someone and your life changes in that moment. And I think there's that level of soulmate, and then there's also, just like Candice said, the mate. I actually call that, like soul mates. They're mates
Mhm.
along the journey. So what you said with that is exactly true for me too, Candice.
Mm. What
Yeah.
about you, Candy? Did anything stand out to you?
Well, it's what stood out is the idea of like being able to flow with your feminine energy, which is what I believe she did. Like I always
Mm.
talk about the ability to listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, and listen to
Mhm.
that pull, right? Like
Yeah.
when there's things that are for us, there's whatever you believe in, it's like whether it's source, it's universe, whatever it is, there's something that will pull. And it's not that butterfly thing that people think they're supposed to
Right.
get.
Yeah.
Because if someone
Yeah.
makes you uneasy and nervous, a lot of people associate uneasy and nervous with attraction. But no, it's like there's a pull that happens when something or someone is for you. And what it sounds like to me, what was her name again? I,
Ashley.
Ashley, what it sounds like to me that she did was she felt the pull and she allowed herself to be guided by it, which we don't often do.
I love oh man, you guys are on fire this morning. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with both of you. It's like I mean, and the article is longer, and I'll try to find it and post it into the chat so everyone can kind of read it because it's a story from 2015 actually. So this was a while ago, but I think it was still relevant. Where in the article, it just felt like both of them just were just in this flow. They both kind of surrendered to what was going on in their lives. They surrendered to what their intuition was telling them. Maybe Danny, maybe a part of this that didn't come out in the article was maybe Danny himself was saying, affirming that like the perfect right situation to help me get through this time in my life where I need a kidney, right? Is going to come about, and that I surrender to whatever is going to happen. And then coincidentally, he surrendered himself into a beautiful love relationship.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know, yeah, and I love that part that even they didn't like rush in. It might have seemed as though they did, but from what I gleaned too was they both understood what they were feeling, and at the same time they said we're gonna just take care of each other's hearts as we go through this process,
It
right?
also sounds like in the beginning that there wasn't that there wasn't a romantic intention. Like,
No,
Oh, no. Right.
exactly. I think they just understood this. There's a connection deeper than just
yeah,
the transplant, that they really like that they really like to be around each other. Maybe they thought that they were just going to be friends, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I got that too, which is another part that's interesting, right?
Yeah,
That's
because I
really
think
interesting.
oftentimes people believe that your soulmate is that like meet cute that you see on site and you're instantly attracted and there's chemistry. When
Right,
really it's
right,
like,
right.
when I'm engaged in being who I am and
Right.
being true to myself, then I feel that pull. It may not be a romantic thing to begin with, when we think in terms of romantic soulmates, like it's an evolution, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of evolution, we're going to take a quick break. See what I did there? What I did there? Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask both of you about something, Sheila, that you kind of brought up that I think that's a very important part of all this, and that is the our ability to be open to love directly, applicable to not only the types of people we meet, but whether or not we meet or have synchronicity with either our soulmate or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. Wanted to take a quick break because we've got a lot to talk about in terms of our belief in soulmates. And so, Candy, I'm going to go to you for this question around the idea of openness to love, right? I think sometimes we're really not open to love, and that we try to trick ourselves into like, well, if this person comes into my life that meets all this criteria, then I'll be open. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I also think that, we often walk around with, criteria, right? And I think as soon as we say, okay, I want to have a love partnership, that's what I'm looking for. That's my intention. That's what I'm committed to. That's what I have to have.
Mm-hmm.
And we begin to let ourselves get attached to, here are all the things that they need to have about them. That's like the very definition of closing myself off to love, right? Because whether people want to admit it or not, love, just by definition, is unconditional.
Right.
So if I'm walking around with my list of conditions, it's like cognitive dissonance. I say, I want it, I want love, but I'm not giving no love. Here's my conditions.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
I think we probably did. Yeah, the criteria.
Right.
That's sort of like when I work with clients, it's my captain, because so many of us have that instant gratification criteria, which is like the roadblock to actually having love.
Right. Ooh, man. What do you think, Sheila?
I think the more we're open to love, the more we receive love, and the deeper those connections can go, for sure. And I think that it isn't about wanting a partner. That's where we get really mixed up. I think when we use soulmate as like there's, that one person that's out there that we have to find, and then they're going to meet all our needs, because I think soul love is it's a more challenging love. It's an opportunity to open to love at a deeper and deeper level. And that is not for the faint of heart,
Right. Again, it is so interesting that some of our shows are like matching up perfectly. Last week we talked about the whole viral video between lawyer and television personality Eben K. Williams and author and relationship coach Iyanla Van Zant, and this whole idea of, would you date a bus driver, right? And I love that both of you are getting like, okay, put all the labels to the side, right?
Right.
You that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for something that, number one, you've got to cultivate in yourself first, which is this deep partnering love, soul love kind of not relationship, but this energy, right? I want to have a relationship with this person where we're cultivating that. And then that person comes into your life, and then everything else that you need, both of you need, kind of gets attracted into that, right? I think it's okay.
Yeah, that willingness to like self-understand,
Right?
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, align with who I am, what's important to me at my core. Like that's what causes that, like with Ashley, and I forgot the guy's name in that story.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like what was important at my core, is getting out and helping that person. She was aligning with who she was, right? On some level, that desire, that pull. And we often don't let ourselves do that. It's just like Sheila mentioned, like someone's going to come and bring me everything I need. It's like, nah, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Right? Exactly. What do you think people are looking for these days? I mean, we talked a little bit about that just now, but what do you think they're looking for
in partnership?
Yeah, in partnership.
Like in a romantic relationship?
Yeah.
I think that there's an evolution of romantic relationships that has been happening because the form that we have for relationships is based on a pretty primitive survival form. Like this is it's practical, raise your kids, support the family, going back into when we needed those jobs to be filled. And now it's evolving into, it's evolved from that into that romantic kind of kinship idea. And now I think not everybody, but I think there's a wave of people really wanting to experience deeper intimacy and that challenge to love unconditionally. And sometimes we're getting them all mixed up, right? And then we don't, and when we try to mix and match them together, it can get very confusing.
Yeah, that is very confusing.
Yeah. It's like the leftover dregs of of, you know, what was sort of assigned to us, I guess.
Yeah.
And when I say us, I mean generationally. It's like,
Right.
you know, you knew who you were in your family and what was expected of
Mhm,
you and what
mhm.
tradition was, and that you had to
Right.
survive, right?
Mhm.
As what, no matter the gender. And so people were trying to follow a set of rules. It was less about being able to have romantic relationships and have that be the priority. And I think we're kind of still very juvenile in the process as a human
Yeah.
race, because we're in a place of, it's like everything else. Let me just gratify myself.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right. And it's not like everything
yeah,
else. It's like we're evolving into an understanding that, you know, like Sheila mentioned, that there's an unconditionality that's required. And so I think that's where we are. We're evolving into that. And some of us have not evolved very far because we still, like, you know, really want someone to fix it and make it all better and heal our stories, and, you know, without us having to do it.
right.
And then others of us, I think, you know, we're trying to wake up to, you know, who do I need to be a space for all I want to experience, right?
Yeah, I love that. You know, when I tell people, when we have conversations about like relationships, and when people are like, listen, having some material wealth and all that, yes, it's an important part of our human experience, right? You need money to be able to buy food, you know, keep shelter and water and all these necessities, right? Those
Mhm.
are our basic needs, right? In terms of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs back in the day. Um,
Mhm.
but when you say that people have to have a certain type of those things to make you feel good about being in a relationship with them, that's not about those things anymore.
Mm. Mhm.
That's about the unmet needs that lie beneath all of that, that are driving you toward trying to find somebody like that. And it's also true for men. Like, men get um uh into this whole like trophy kind of thing, right? Like, I've got to have a woman that looks a certain way, acts a certain way, and dresses a certain way, and all this. It's the same deal, right? Where
Mm.
there's something up underneath all that that you're wanting, and that's the focus, right? The focus that you should be lending into is that energy. Like, what's going on there? What's up under, as a therapist of mine used to say, what's up underneath the boat, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
um you know, a lot of things, you know, um Candice, you were talking about this idea of our families, and
Mhm.
that whole pathology that's there. You know, let's talk a little bit more about that, right? um you know, I'm not going to take a break right now. I want to continue this conversation, because I think a lot of that has to do with like how we're socialized to believe about love relationships, and even this soulmate thing, where we were sold the bill of goods on the whole Cinderella story, men and women, and
Mhm.
other orientations. It's like, you know, you meet this person and everything is wonderful from now until
Mhm.
forever, and that is not the truth. And when you find out it's not the truth, you're like, holy crap. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit. Candy, what say you? What are you telling clients?
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, in my own experience, I was in a 13-year relationship, right overlapping like the end of college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember at that age, especially, you know, being like I was so obsessed with love and romance, really feeling like I had met my soulmate. And as I look back in hindsight, what I realize is, in as much as I did love this person, what it was is that they ticked a lot of boxes as far as what I thought I was supposed to want based on how I was raised and
Mm-hmm.
conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like they were on there. They became a surgeon. He's an orthopedic surgeon now. We still have, you know, polite friendship, so I kind of know what's going on with him. But you know, he just was about a lot of things, getting his life together,
Right.
and you know, just a smart guy. And he ticked all the things that my mother would have wanted for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, when I look back on that, there's nothing wrong with any of
Right.
it.
Right.
But we were not destined to have sustainability because there were so many other things that inherently just didn't match up, and not in any sort of contentious way. Like, he came from a Muslim family and he was devout in his religion. I was never going to convert to Islam.
Right. I cannot,
You
I
know, and
can't
he had,
see that.
right? He had certain visions in mind for what his life was going to look like. He now lives in Afghanistan. I was never going to live in Afghanistan.
Wow.
You know, and
Wow.
the family that he came from, there was a lot of restriction within their culture, their traditions, and things like that. And so, you know, I'd say all of that to say, to your, wait, tell me again your original
Well, you're
question.
going to, so like he had his belief system that was passed down and that he was socialized to believe from his family, and you had the same in your own way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, gosh, I cannot see you in Afghanistan.
Right. But that, I think that's what sometimes people sort of confuse with, you know, how is this person a mate, right? Or whether I can sustain with this person. And what we gave each other was a lot of love and care. We helped each other through, you know, undergraduate school, graduate school. You know, we developed an affinity and a friendship that is lifelong. Like, if he called me and was like, I need help with something, I would be, you know, whatever he would need. But also the understanding that our parting of the ways was necessary for the trajectory that each of us needed to go on.
Right.
We get so caught up in feeling like we got to find this person that is our forever person, lock ourselves down and be together forever.
Right.
Right. Like you were saying. And, you know, we being cognizant of that, that's not necessarily how it works, is part of what eases the heartache and the pain and the turmoil. You know, everybody we need is a mate to our soul, a mirror to how we can grow.
Sheila, what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking about that mirror and how deep really all of our partnerships are about our own soul love of ourself, and how we can grow as a being of love and open up more deeply, and become more of who we are. And throughout our life, different people will be the perfect partner for that, whether it's romantic or in other ways. And I think we really get confused that love is unconditional, like is conditional. Relationship, right? Like is conditional, and so is the form of the relationships we choose. Depending on what we choose, we can make them as less conditional or more conditional based on our paradigm. But it is ultimately a gateway. To me, every soul relationship that I've had, deep soul relationships that have, you know, changed me and helped me love bigger, they're all they're also the pathway to me in my union with the divine.
Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
That when number one, when you connect and are practicing self-awareness, but more spiritual awareness around your connection with the divine, and then you that leads you and attracts you to, you know, to being in a love relationship that is a mirror of that relationship. It just increases your connection, which goes to everything else, and the relationship bears fruit that you never could have imagined before it came along, right?
And sometimes soulmates are showing you how disconnected you are.
Well, and
that's their
right.
Let's talk about that part. Because I think, you know, this concept of reason, season, or lifetime, right? Where people flow in and out of your life for reasons, seasons, or lifetimes, and they all have beautiful gifts to give to you. Sometimes, like you said, Sheila, it's a mirror, and it's this connection of how you're connected and growing that connection and being in the flow. And then other times, as you said, Candy, it's the opposite. It is hey boyfriend, girlfriend, you're not connected right now. In fact, you're kind of moving away. So I'm going to kind of like support you in moving into the flow. And sometimes that means that you leave or the other person, because you could be the mirror, the opposite for the other person, and that person leaves, right?
Or sometimes it's a staying. Like I was in an
Yes. Yeah.
abusive relationship for about, I would say 4.5 years. And it took a minute for me to get that what this person was mirroring to me was the relationship that I had with myself at that time when we
Right.
met. And the blessing and all of that, and the reason that I will forever be grateful for how batshit crazy he was that it showed me how batshit crazy I was and how I was so disconnected from source.
Wow.
Right. And it deepened my ability the moment I realized that what it deepened was my ability to get reconnected in such a colossal way that someone who came along and was right, flowing in alignment with me might not have been able to cause that kind of effect.
Right.
But it's always a mirror, whether you're having a negative, positive, low vibrational or high vibrational experience, it's always a mirror.
Oh man. I remember talking about that. I'm remembering early in my days of like dating and all that kind of stuff, you meet that one. And as I told my son, I said, you ain't a man unless somebody broke your heart
Mm.
and you singing the blues and you're crying because you're opening yourself up to that part of yourself that really, really wants to be to be loved, right? To really feel that love. And it just drives you. For me, for a minute, it was driving me outward a little bit. And then I had to learn to go inward.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
It's what we came here for. It is.
Right.
Yep.
That's why we came.
Exactly. Why don't we take another quick break? And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about, let's make this turn and talk a little bit more about like, what do we need to do? What do we need to do to, as my mom would say, as you both love my mom, she would say, how do we prepare ourselves for soulmates to come into our lives? Right? Because I think that's where the disconnect is, right? Where we're waiting for them to fix us, and we're supposed to quote unquote fix ourselves and attract them to us. Right? So why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about soulmates and all kind of things, love, relationships, and a whole lot more. So we'll be back in about a minute or so.
You can find all the Satana products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Soulivity.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We are talking about soulmates. Isn't a song called like Soulmates?
I think it's in a lot of songs.
Yeah, right. Which would make sense. Sheila, you had a story that you wanted to share in regards to this.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, I've had the fortune of being with several deep soulmates in my lifetime. And I just think one story that I want to share with you today that is such a reflection of everything we've been talking about almost 20 years ago, somebody walked into my office to have a healing, which is normal. He was coming to get to see if he could go on to get his Reiki master with me, but I didn't know him, and I started my session just like I always do. And when I got to his feet, all of a sudden, I got flashes of like, if people have heard of the Akashic records, it's like all of our lifetimes and all of our life plans. It's a symbol for that. And the book was like flipping like crazy, and they're saying, and and the guides are like, you have to decide what you want to do. And I'm like, this is a stranger. I don't know what I want to do. I couldn't even tell him what was happening, you know.
Woohoo!
And finally,
lit your fire.
Right? Finally, I was like, okay, whatever we decided before we came down, that's what we'll do. And the book slammed and everything calmed down. And I was just like, oh, man.
Oh, wow.
It's now almost 20 years later, and our relationship has not gone into a typical form of a romantic relationship, you know. But we have come and gone. We've been mad at each other. We've loved each other deeply, and we're still growing as individuals because of this partnership. And recently we've been able to say like, hey, whatever decision we made that day, we did the right thing.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's really cool, Sheila.
Yeah. And so, you know, when you think of that, I think it's so important because it is about being ready, like you were going to move towards. And also it's about not attaching it, right? If we had ever tried to put it into a specific form, in those days especially, I think we would have exploded, you know.
Right. Because you know, again, from that story that we said earlier, where the Ashley and Danny, they proceeded cautiously, right? And I think more so, I think you could equate that to they proceeded intuitively and let what was going to unfold about their relationship unfold.
Right.
Right. Candy, how do we prepare? How do we, you know, because we talked about soulmates in the instance. I think we all agree that this first step is kind of like about like becoming aware of ourselves. But what does that mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like what you said about unfolding, right?
Yeah.
Because often I think we think that there's some perfect person that we need to be, or some pinnacle we need to reach in order to prepare for whatever comes along in life, right? And, you know, I really think that the preparation is just the willingness to explore, and I say this often, explore what is really most important to me at my soul. So oftentimes we go by what we're told that's supposed to be important to us, you know, and that's the house, the car, the, you know, the career, the, you know, whatever family you come from, whatever their demands are. Or we see what's supposed to be important to us in our media and movies and things like that. But the preparation is just exploring, like, if I'm quiet and it's not about the noise of what everyone is telling me or what I'm, you know, watching on Netflix or whatever, like I'm trying to have a Bridgerton moment, whatever, if I'm just quiet and just say like, you know, what is it that I really want to experience? What is it that would, if I create it, if I generate it, if I share it with someone else, would have me know that I'm living authentically into who I am, and I'm purposeful, and I'm doing what I came here to do. I'm willing to ask myself that question. I can just let myself explore that. So what is it that lights me up? What is it that makes me feel like I'm making a difference? And if I don't care about making a difference for someone else, what is it that makes me feel like I'm making a difference for myself? Because even the willingness to do that makes a difference for other people, right?
Yeah.
It's the questioning.
Yeah. And Sheila, isn't that what we want to give to people in the relationship? Don't we want to give them our authentic self, where we're not pretending, we're not acting out what we were taught that we should be and all that. We're just open,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's our ultimate goal as humans. I think that that's our deepest desire, is to be
Yeah.
seen and understood
Mhm.
on a deep level. I think that that's why we put so many rules around a romantic relationship, because we're trying to create a safe place.
Yeah.
But to me, I think of that as like group therapy, like where
Right.
it's like there are rules, but you can't trust people to uphold those rules. But because we have that safety net, we might be able to start exploring ourselves more.
Right.
Yeah.
But or even just a one-on-one therapy session, right? You've got those boundaries, but at some point to really love deep, you've got to loosen those boundaries and decide to just love and let things unfold.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and let yourself be seen, right? They say there was
Right.
intimacy into me see.
Yep.
Mhm.
Right?
Exactly.
So by letting ourselves be seen, we also get, we're often looking for that heart stability. The stability comes from, like Sheila was saying, if someone sees me and understands and accepts me, that's where the stability comes from. Not I've set it up that they think that I'm this pillar of the community. So, I'm
Right.
going to stay in this relationship, or they think I'm the perfect wife, or, they think highly of me. No, it's they know the strengths, the weaknesses, they see it and they love it and they accept it. Like that's what
Right.
you experience, right?
Right. I'm thinking as we're talking about this, an aspect of like when you're going through this process of preparation, that there is this willingness to be open to all of that the universe, spirit, God
Right.
gives you in terms of like, I know for myself, when I started diving a lot deeper and just let that whole like being in a relationship and being being a father and all that, that it led me to leave, number one, leave the job that I was in, leave the state that I was in, and move,
Mm.
right? Because I understood
Mhm.
that I was not happy where I was, and that it was
Right.
time to go. And so what do you guys think about this? I mean, that that people there may be unintended consequences or unintended gifts, I would say, that come from this process. Has that happened with both any of you before?
Well, when you say consequences, you mean like
Like gifts, like awarenesses, like as you dive down, you figure out like, you know what? I don't really like this job, I've never really liked this job, and now I'm really aware of it, right? That now,
Yeah.
because you're now becoming more connected into who am I as an authentic person,
Well,
and so
go ahead.
no, go
I
ahead.
was, I was just going to say, I do think that connection with self and connection with others does have us recognize that everything else is just trappings, right?
Right.
Snaps,
Yeah. It's like
snaps.
it's just the stuff we use. It's the tools. Our money, our careers, our belongings, our degrees. Those are just tools, because
Mhm.
ultimately all we want is to be loved, seen, and accepted. And once
Right,
we have that, it's like, I can work anywhere. I can
right,
make whatever
exactly.
money. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, well, you figure out things like, man, it's cold up here. You know, I want to go someplace where it's warm. I always like where it's warm. I want to be by water. I really love water. Those kinds of things.
I mean, perfect example for me is, I always say 25 years in New York City, and I love New York City and was so
Yeah,
attached
yeah.
to that's where I needed to live. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until like my partner now, who I definitely feel like is a soulmate, and we have such a intimacy and a core value matching. I always say I believe my mother brought him to me, because I met him after my mother passed. And honestly, like I never thought I was going to be living a suburban life ever again in my life. And I honestly, like, because I'm with him, it's like beautiful. Like I love the peace. You heard me talking about the
Mm,
forest and the hike. I was never
mhm.
into that stuff 10 years ago. And now I'm like, I love my man. I love where he lives. I love where he goes.
I
Just
love these
you start to
trees.
relish in it, right? You stop worrying about the atmosphere and the things and the all. It's like, no, this is good. I feel loved. I feel seen.
Rock your
Like,
world.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Why don't we take another quick break, and when we come back, we can each go around and have some final thoughts about this. Might have to do another show about this because I think there's so much. It's such a rich topic,
Mhm.
and I think there's so much that we can talk about. Just this idea of soul love and synchronicity when it comes to just not only our love relationships but relationships in general. Like, why do people come in and out of our lives at certain times, right?
Mhm.
So why don't we take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity and final thoughts.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity, and I'll go to final thoughts from you, Candice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the takeaway here, and it's always, I feel like I always beat the same drum around, self-love and exploration and unconditionality. Letting yourself be open to what love actually is, right? That there's an unconditionality, that it is unconditionality. It's synonymous. And letting go of what you've been told, being willing to explore what love is, what having a soulmate means, being willing to question for yourself. And a lot of times we don't feel like we have permission to do that. And so giving ourselves permission to be in exploration around it rather than feel like everything we've been told is just the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Woo. I got chills on that one. I mean, seriously, that's some, yeah, breaking that fairy tale
Yeah.
that we're sometimes told. Sheila, what about you? What are your final thoughts?
You know, love never ends. And I think that's really important, especially when we're talking about romantic relationships, because we talk about being in and out of love. But true love is a frequency, it flows through us. The more we open to it, the more we can feel those connections with different souls on earth. And no matter if you're already in a relationship and you want more intimacy, you can connect on a soul level, even if you didn't feel that initial soul attraction. If you came into a relationship in a different way than that bond of soul love, you're able to shift that by opening up to love and to the soul of each person. So it doesn't really matter what the language is. If you go on a journey of, like Candice said, self-love and soul love, it will be there for you.
Thank you for that. I was thinking about how everything that both of you guys were saying again relates to the be do have paradigm, right? Um, and that I was thinking about, like, first, be the partner you want to be with, be that person, right? So if you want to be with a person that completely validates and loves you, then for you to be that person, then guess what? You've got to start the process of loving and validating yourself in all of who you are. And so
Right.
you do those things that you're led to do to become that person, including maybe seeing both of you at some point. Um, and then the have part is, the outcomes of that work, right? Which, yes, can include someone coming into your life, but I think more importantly, first, enjoying the fruits and the feelings of openness of loving yourself that way. I know in my own life, doing that work literally broke me down where I'm literally feeling that love that I had never really felt before for myself,
Mm.
Mhm.
right? And then that opened the door to openness from someone else loving me in the same way, right? So mirroring that. So that's my final thought for you. Great show. Wow. This is a great show. We're going to talk more about this, everybody. I mean, I think this is an important topic. I think it's part of what we do here at Soulivity. And another part of what we do here at Soulivity is try to inspire and motivate you to aspire to being the person that you want to be. And Sheila, you've got a fantastic class that's coming up tomorrow, May 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's free. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, it's perfect for today. I will be offering a master class on the Spiritual Quest network, and it is Soul Love, a new paradigm of partnership. So we're going to dive deep into the various aspects of soulmate, like twin flame, karmic relationships, soul mate, and also counterpoint relationships. And then we're also going to upgrade our beliefs from the old paradigm to the new paradigm and do a meditation to help you connect to your love on a soul level.
Mm-hmm. And going to share a quick tab online where you can actually go online using the link that's in our chat. Again, this is free. You want to go out there today so you can reserve a spot so that you can be part of this great masterclass that features Sheila Applegate. Again, 1 p.m. tomorrow on Wednesday, and you will not regret going. Yay.
And it'll be a recording for 24 hours. So if you sign up today,
so
you'll have it.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll go live at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. But then if you registered, then you have 24 hours to watch it.
Well, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So free, and you can do a rewatch of it. Okay. Fantastic. And of course, Candice, you always have something going on. So can you tell us a little bit about like your love coaching and other things that are happening?
Yeah. So, I help professional women of color create and attract loving relationships. And right now I've been putting together a digital course and, my normal one-on-one intensive coaching. And so if anybody wants to go to I love you, put it up. If anybody wants to go to my website, you can learn more. I still have my project. It's Homeostasis is happening. Everything that's going on right now is on CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com. And the Soulivity 50 promo code is 50% off of anything that you want to purchase. And also if we decide to work together, you do have to apply to work with me one-on-one, but you get to use that code. And that's a huge amount of money off of the coaching packages. So Soulivity 50 is the promo code for anything on my site.
Well, thank you both for, supporting everyone in creating a higher quality life. I know that everyone, if you take anything from Sheila or Candice, you will not regret it. In fact, you'll be empowered from it, and you'll be living a better life with passion and power. Thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it. Another great show. Listen, everyone, we want to again thank you for joining us for another episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast, or you can listen Thursdays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio for all of you out on the West Coast. Don't forget to get the KMET app too, because you can listen on their application as well. Until next time, keep having real conversations with passion and purpose, and create a life full of high quality living today. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye now.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.